Taking Care of Iredell with North Carolina State Representative Jeff McNeely is about to begin. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good morning, Iredell County. Hope everybody's doing well. It's a little dreary outside. Rain's coming. You know, here's the unknown tropical storm is hitting our coast. Very little fanfare about it. Nobody really said much, but it's there, so it's come. Hey, got a great show today. I have some guests in the studio with me. I have Terri Blankenship, Casey Tucker, and Jerry Campbell. They're all here with Iredell Walk for Recovery, which is coming up this coming Saturday, well, not this coming, but the next, September Saturday, the 28th from 4 to 7. So Saturday, September 28th, 4 to 7. Going to be at Troutman's ESC Park. That's one in behind the police and town hall there. A very nice facility. 338 North Avenue. So right behind the town hall, and they would love for you to come out. And so we're going to go ahead and start talking with our guests that I have in the studio, and we'll take calls on the second half of the show. But we're going to go ahead and get started here. So glad to have y'all with us in the studio this morning. Thank y'all. Thank y'all.
Glad to be here.
Good to get close to the mics. It works a little better if you get it right up in your mouth almost to a point.
Got it.
But anyway, so I know y'all are here. Terri and Casey, both of y'all were Iredell EMS. And you're also peer support specialist.
Yep.
Now, I'm going to have to probably, saying peer support specialist, exactly what does that mean to be peer support specialist?
That means that both of us have a lived experience with drug addiction or alcoholism and or mental health. There's a piece of that in there too. And that we've overcame that and we now live in recovery, and we've been certified through the state of North Carolina to work in the community to help other people on their path to recovery.
And the walk to recovery, basically, anybody, whether you've been in this situation, maybe of a rehab or working through the trials and troubles or a family member or a friend, anybody, and y'all, this touches everybody's life. I can't believe that there's somebody out there, and it's sad, but I can't believe there's somebody out there that doesn't have know somebody that has gone through either these mental health issues, these addiction issues, misuse of whether it be drugs, alcohol, whatever. And so this touches everybody. So this is really important. And it looks like y'all are going to have a big day. There's a band and there's a lot of different stuff going on. So you may want to allude a little bit about what all we got there that day or going to have on that Saturday, the 28th.
Sure. It's essentially a 3-hour show. There's going to be a band. There's going to be performers. We have 3 guests. Casey is our actual featured speaker this year. So she'll be sharing her story in details next Saturday, along with 2 others. But there's also, around 40 vendors that we have that are going to be there, giving away free items, just all different types of supporters. And everything at the event is going to be free. Nobody's going to be selling anything, so there's food, there's going to be free T-shirts as long as they last. Have anything to add, Jerry?
We've got face painters, we'll have some balloonists, magicians, possibly some shows coming for you. So you can see we're trying to make this a family event. We started in 2017, and we've been at the same location, and a lot of our people that have been supporting it have been there since day one. So we really gear it towards the family because, to your point, recovery touches everyone. We all know someone close to us that has dealt with some type of substance or mental health needs, and exposing it and bringing it to light to show that there is recovery and that there is a step forward and there's help for anyone that needs it. And like you said, there's like 40 vendors that are there. We'll have a group that'll have some bright pink shirts, similar to the green one I've got on today. We do that, and those 11 or 12 persons are somewhat experts in the areas and can guide you if you're needing help and support. They're not going to expose you or anything, so you can quietly come up to those persons, have a conversation, and they'll warm hand off you to someone that may be the right support for you at that time.
Yeah, and I hope I introduced Jerry Campbell, and he's with Partners Health, and that used to be Partners. I think it was Mental Health, but that's dropped and names changed. So,
Yes, sir.
but that is still y'all's function, is still to help people with mental health issues.
It's to help our members with mental health, substance use, traumatic brain injury, and intellectual and developmental disabilities. We've recently changed some because of what's called tailored plan, which encompasses the whole person for our members that we serve. But yes, that's very much the same, except for we've expanded what we do for the people we serve.
Well, great. And I'll tell you, in North Carolina, being in the legislature, we've struggled with how to handle mental health. I don't care which politics you are before us, and when the Democrats are in charge, now the Republicans, we've done an equally bad job. Our idea is either to inebriate through drugs, to knock them out basically, or to incarcerate. We don't have anything hardly in the middle. We don't know. Right. Now, I ain't saying that y'all are not, Partners Health not doing work. And we are. I do know this, that in the 21-22 budget, we put a lot of money in mental health coming out of COVID, because we saw a lot of people that isolation, that lack of human interaction that went on, or the decreased level of human interaction. Those people who were maybe on the verge stepped over or fell over or fell off the cliff to a point. And a lot of young kids, especially, and we saw really, I hate to pick out a certain area, it seemed like middle school, that 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, when, you're with your friends and you're figuring out who you are, and then all of a sudden everything went to just basically social media instead of interaction, and we know that's not a good thing.
Very lonely.
Yeah,
social media doesn't paint a great picture. If you're not perfect, if you're not Barbie or Ken, then you're obviously got body of stopia. I can't remember now, but you're feeling bad about yourself.
Yes, definitely the highlight reels.
Yeah, exactly.
But we definitely experienced record overdoses and record alcohol sales during that time. So, it makes sense.
Yeah,
a lot of return to use too.
We allegedly, we got tickled. They closed the churches down, but the ABC store stayed open.
Yes, there were no AA and NA meetings, but you could go to the liquor store.
Yeah,
and then a lot of that consumption took place in isolation.
Oh yeah.
So now you've got someone that's lonely and may be missing family or lost family that is using substances alone, which is a very dangerous situation. Yeah.
Well, and we saw suicide increase. Suicide attempts really increased. Yes. Some people, I guess, didn't quite get. They tried. Right. They tried repeatedly. Yeah. And so this is, it's a touchy subject. It's one of those kind nobody really wants to talk about. Right. But it's there, and it's huge. And
that's why events like this, the Iredell Walk for Recovery, are so important, because that's what we're highlighting is the other side of it. And now that we're coming out of it, overdose rates are going down. We're seeing a lot of those numbers go down since COVID, and that's why we're here, is to spread awareness that there is another side to it. There is a chance at recovery, and people do recover.
And sadly, a lot of people want to, I don't want to talk about it. This is not a good thing. But we need to celebrate that. We need to, make sure that they realize they have overcome. That you have met the challenge, and you've gotten there. So we got about 15 seconds till we go to a hard break, and then we'll come back and probably hear a little bit of personal life stories and issues. So, folks, hang with us. This is it's a touchy subject, but it's something that's got to be talked about. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Stay with us. We'll have more Taking Care of Iredell with NC Representative Jeff McNeely after these messages on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Well, our weather is changing quite a bit as we kick off a new week, and a system off the coast develops and moves inland across the Carolinas. Expect rain arriving by this afternoon. Some of it could be quite heavy and could impact after school events and your evening commute as well. That rain will continue on and off, some heavy through our day on Tuesday, along with some gusty winds, too. Just stay weather aware over the next couple of days. Temperatures will hold in the 70s for the first part of the week. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
The WSIC app is available now wherever you get your apps, featuring local deals from great local businesses like Nina's Boutique.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. This Friday night, the monthly car show Hot Rods and Hot Hops returns to RevFast. The late Apex Storage Condos on Cayuga Drive in Mooresville welcomes the slickest and fastest cars, motorcycles, trucks, racing, and high-performance machines. Food trucks will be on hand for delicious dinners, and Hoptown Brewing will be serving up cold beer. Get your weekend started off right with Hot Rods and Hops this Friday night at 6 p.m. at the late Apex Storage Condos in Mooresville. Brookdale Village's Live Under the Oaks concert series is also happening on Friday night. Ryan Winters will be playing on the Brookdale stage in Huntersville beginning at 6 p.m. Food and beverages will be for sale at the many restaurants around the village. Grab your chairs and your friends for the Ryan Winters concert Friday night at Brookdale Village in Huntersville. Movie in the Park is happening September 20th in downtown Huntersville. The show at Veterans Park on Main Street and Maxwell Street is open to the public free of charge. Bring your blankets and lawn chairs for an evening under the stars with the showing of Space Jam on a big screen. Movie in the Park begins at 7:30 p.m. at Veterans Park in Huntersville on Friday. The NHRA returns to ZMAX Dragway this weekend for the Carolina Nationals. When the temperatures cool down, the excitement heats up at the Bellagio of drag strips. Every ticket is a pit pass, giving fans unmatched access to the drivers and crews who power the NHRA's thunderous 11,000 horsepower machines to their limits. Visit CharlotteMotorspeedway.com for information, tickets, and details.
The Renaissance Festival is back Saturdays and Sundays, October 5th through November 24th. A non-stop outdoor family adventure. Tickets available online only at renfestinfo.com while supplies last.
To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
For 42 years, Johnson's Parts and Supply has been your Auto Plus auto parts store. When you need auto parts, think Johnson's Parts and Supply. Your Auto Plus auto parts store, 1112 Shelton Avenue, Statesville.
It's Taking Care of Iredell with NC Representative Jeff McNeely on 105.9 100.7 WSIC. Local starts here.
All right, back here with the second part of the show here. Got Terry and Casey and Jerry in the studio with us. Iredell Walk for Recovery coming up on Saturday, September the 28th, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. down at Troutman ESC Park. If that doesn't work, if it rains, it's at South Iredell's gymnasium or Performing Arts.
South Iredell High School Performing Arts Building, yes.
Yeah, so we're not too far from it. So rain or shine, one way or another, this event's going to go off. Now, like I said earlier, I asked a question about peer support and peer support. Well, y'all explain it to me, ladies. Is you've been there, you've seen it. Whether it's you or somebody that you know well. I don't know who would like to go first. Casey, would you like to go first and tell a little bit about your experience?
So I don't want to tell too much because I want everybody to come out on the 28th and hear my full story. But I spent many years in active addiction, 10 years to be exact, despite growing up in a great household. It's not like I was raised in, a terrible family. And I was fortunate enough to get clean, and I've been clean for a little bit over 7 years now.
Hallelujah.
Right. And now I work with Iredell County EMS to work with other, substance users in Iredell County to help connect them to resources, whatever that may be. We truly are able to just meet people where they're at, no matter what.
Yeah. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Or like I said, hallelujah, amen.
Yes. I was fortunate.
Yeah. A lot of people don't make it back.
A lot of people do not.
Yeah.
I really didn't think that I would.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. And come on out and hear the rest of Casey's story. I'm sure, the sad part is I'm sure in some point, somewhere in this, you hit rock bottom.
I did.
Yeah, and that's usually not a pretty thing. That's not a pretty thing, but it seems that's what it takes. If you survive rock bottom, a lot of times there's a good chance you're going to make it back out.
Yeah, well, the scary part out of it was whenever I was in rock bottom, I didn't want to get out of it. I was kind of forced out of it. So, like I said, I'm very fortunate. I kind of expected to die out there, but there was, something better meant for me.
Well, yes, there is. The Lord's got a plan.
Yes,
He's showing it to you right now.
Yes.
Terry, how did this affect you?
I can share a little bit more of my story since Casey can't share much of hers. But But I won't give my whole life story. It started for me really when I was 17, 18. I lost my parents after a car accident. My whole life just flipped upside down. And at the time, my doctor thought it was a good idea to prescribe me a benzo, Klonopin, as long as some painkillers that I was already on. And I was just, ignorant to the fact and unaware, wasn't educated on what I was doing. So it felt really good to take a few extra here and there to just numb out from the world that I was experiencing at the time. And before I knew it, it just got out of control. And I was not only addicted to, but dependent on these medications and could not function without them. And I had little kids. So as it does, it just got progressively worse and just intensified until one day I found myself an IV drug user. So I was using needles at one point. Thankfully, that's when it just really sunk into me of, oh my God, what has my life come to? And, I just started reaching out to people. I reached out to my pastor of my church and just other people in the community. And I was eventually connected with a psychiatrist here in Statesville who helped save my life. And, she walked with me on my journey. This November, I'll have 10 years of recovery. And I've worked with Iredell County EMS for a little over 4 years, helping use that lived experience to walk other people through it. So we're able to look them in the eyes and say, like, hey, we've been there before. I've had a CPS, Child Protective Services case against me. I've had those allegations made. I've been to jail. So there's no shame, no stigma, no judgment coming from us because we've been there before. And it's really been an effective strategy for us at EMS.
Yeah. And Jerry, I'm sure, like I said, it sounds like maybe we're getting on the backside of COVID and the issues that come, but there's still too many instances of people where they're and like you was telling a little bit ago, there's so many. I hate to use the word new, but yeah, there's new things out there, different things now to even hook you worse and kill you with one use.
Yeah, you're right. The substances out there in the old world, you would see a lot of persons that had been in long-term addiction that would overdose. But in today's world, someone could use one time, not know for sure what they're taking, and then have an overdose. It's a completely different world. And so we've got to look at it differently. And even what Terri mentioned, how did this happen to her? It was through prescription medication and not necessarily paying attention to what you're taking and how much of it, and maybe not getting good education from the prescribers about these are things you should be doing. So there's a stigma attached to persons that take substances, and sometimes that's not fair to them. In most cases, it's not. There's a backstory to it of something that's happened in their life, whether it's alcohol or another substance, where there's been a trauma or something happened, and they're using that substance to mask the pain that they're feeling. Could be something with their family. It could be domestic violence. There's all kinds of things that factor into it that are having a hard impact. And Jeff, there's some brief stats. I don't have much, but we were talking during the break a little bit, but just a few things on it. Regarding alcohol, if you look at accidents that are fatality for cars, only 5.3% of fatalities have no alcohol, but that number jumps up to 33% of death fatalities if alcohol is involved. The suicides in North Carolina, 37% of them involve some type of substances being used, and 18% of homicides involve some type of substances. So there's a connection to a lot of the bad things that happen because of substance misuse, and that's a $9 billion annual cost to North Carolina.
So that's basically about a third of our budget, or well, close. It's during, it's 25%. It's a fourth anyway, fourth of our budget that we have in this state.
And those numbers are straight from North Carolina DHHS website.
And talking with Darren Campbell many times, he's told us usually 3/4 or more of the criminal activity that goes on somehow or another, drugs and or alcohol involved.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that's just where it is. Either if it's theft, they're stealing to keep the addiction going, or who knows what, or they're just vandalizing because they're messed up on something.
Right.
And that's. I shared with them, audience, that when I first got elected county commissioner, and I had not been sworn in 10 minutes, and our head of EMS come in, and she basically asked me and the whole board, how many times do we want to bring these people back? And I'm just like, what are you talking about? And she's like, well, when we go out and they've overdosed with the Narcan, how many times do y'all want us to do this? We've got people, we continue to go out constantly and bring back. And he said almost the family's relieved almost when they pass and are upset when we bring them back. And she wanted to know a number. And, we all kind of looked at each other and there is no number. We bring them back anytime we can bring them back. This is a life. But it's a cost on all, for everything that happens. I'd say every trip they go out and do the Narcan, minimum $500, maybe closer to $1,000 now,
Yeah, we definitely have some numbers on that, but I just have to jump in and say I'm so thankful to the county for implementing this program.
Yes.
Because everyone who experiences an overdose or anyone who experiences a 911 call that's even closely related to substances or alcohol, a connection is made within 24 to 48 hours, and a seed is planted. They know that there is help out here. There are free resources to help them. And even if that person isn't ready for that in that moment, a lot of times they are ready, a few weeks later, a month later, or 2 months later, they do call back. And so I'm so thankful that the county implemented that so that there's another option for those families. I'm sure so many of our paramedics felt so lost to just keep going back to the home over and over again. And, their job is done once they've addressed that immediate crisis in the moment. But they knew that so much more could be done. And thankfully, we've had a lot of successes over the years of people who are, 3-4 years sober. And, some of them have went on to do the same kind of work that we're doing. They're speaking at their own events and, helping save other lives elsewhere. So it's pretty neat that Iredell County got ahead of the curve for a lot of places it did.
Well, hopefully this is, after being off the commission now for about 5 years, hopefully the answer come that we're going to keep going. So then let's figure out a different way. And that's what they've done. So that's wonderful to hear that, because it is, it's not just so traumatic for the person that overdosed. It's traumatic for everybody around them.
Yes, absolutely.
And so it's so many times it's heartbreaking. It is. And usually we're talking about somebody 9 times out of 10 that's probably 35 years or less in age. So they're young, they got their whole life, their whole future ahead of them. And they're trying to figure out every which way they can to take that away. It seems like self-destruct.
Right.
And it's a downward spiral. And like I said, it somewhere or another in this whole thing, there's a mental disconnect or a click or something that's not quite putting together, or it could be something that happened to them, traumatic early child. It could be, like I said, loss of both parents, loss of this. We don't know what shoes they're walking in. We have no idea what they're going through when we meet people. And just beware. That's what I always tell. Watch your friends, watch your family. Try to see if there's anything going wrong. Make sure you're in constant contact with them. Now, September is Recovery Month, and I know, Jerry, you talked about it. May want to go ahead and mention our sponsors. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty here. This goes quickly, doesn't it?
It really does. Yeah, I appreciate the ability to speak to the sponsors. I just want to say, Iredell is a giving and caring community. If you're not out there and you're not seeing it, you open up your eyes, because it's happening. You've got a lot of great things happening, and so I do want to take a minute to speak to our sponsors. Our platinum sponsors are the Drug Alcohol Coalition of Iredell, Foundations of Hope Ministry, Integrated Care of Greater Hickory, Iredell Statesville Schools, Iredell County Community Collaborative, PQA, Piedmont Healthcare, Restoration Road Ministries, Southern Family Medicine. That's our platinum. Our gold, our Fifth Street Ministries, Food Lion, Iredell Free News, NAMI. Silver sponsors is Mooresville Graded School District, Bronze, Foundry House, Sawyer Insurance, and Turning Point Family Services.
All right, folks, hang on to the second part of the show.
More Taking Care of Iredell with North Carolina Representative Jeff McNeely is coming up on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Well, our weather is changing quite a bit as we kick off a new week and a system off the coast develops and moves inland across the Carolinas. Expect rain arriving by this afternoon. Some of it could be quite heavy and could impact after school events and your evening commute as well. That rain will continue on and off, some heavy through our day on Tuesday, along with some gusty winds too. Just stay weather aware over the next couple of days. Temperatures will hold in the 70s for the first part of the week. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Johnson's Parts and Supply, your Auto Plus Auto Parts store for 42 years, carries a full line of Wix filters for cars, trucks, and all types of heavy-duty equipment. Johnson's Auto Parts, your Auto Plus Auto Parts store, 1112 Shelton Avenue, Statesville.
Looking for a large private room for your next work function? Or maybe you need a place to bring the whole family for a delicious meal? Pomodoros of Mooresville has the perfect space for your crowd. Book your next event at pomodoros.com.
Hey, this is Jeff McNeely, owner of G&M Milling Company in beautiful downtown Lowray. We at G&M hope you come by and see us for all your livestock needs. We stock feeds for all kinds of animals and hay too. We also have seed for a wide variety of forages for your animals. So come on by 4000 Taylorsville Highway, Statesville, or call us at 704-873-5758. We're worth the drive. Thank you again for supporting small family-owned businesses. God bless.
Hi, this is Bob McIntosh with the McIntosh Law Firm in Davidson. Since 1997, we have been committed to providing our clients with competent, caring, and experienced legal services. Learn more at McIntoshLawFirm.com.
Temperatures are heating up, but the prices are cooling down at Randy Marion Ford Lincoln here in Statesville. How about this? Over $8,000 off F-150s. That's the XLT trim, that's the Lariat trim, that's the Platinum trim, that's the Limited trim. That is the Crew Cab, that is the Super Cab. You name it, Randy Marion Ford. We got it right here in Statesville at a big discount on F-150s. Again, over $8,000 off. Come see us today, I-77, exit 49B.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Even as inflation eases, U.S. shoppers are expected to be more frugal with their holiday spending this year. Today, Deloitte predicts the slowest holiday growth in 6 years for the business, and that has retailers angling for your pocketbook already. Today, Target and Amazon have announced competing sales events set for next month, focusing especially on price-sensitive customers. Hoping for hordes heading into its stores, Target, whose sagging fortunes last year have rebounded this year as it becomes more aggressive with price cuts, is hanging out the Help Wanted sign, hoping to attract 100,000 seasonal workers. Some drivers who work for Amazon have been talking with the Teamsters. Employees with 3 delivery contractors in Queens, New York, have asked Amazon to recognize their union and start contract talks. A majority of the drivers at each contractor have signed cards authorizing the Teamsters to bargain on their behalf. Wall Street's indexes mixing it, Dow gaining 0.5%, NASDAQ losing almost 1%, S&P down 0.25%. Andrew O'Day, Bloomberg Radio.
Now, more Taking Care of Iredell with North Carolina Representative Jeff McNeely on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
All right, back here with the second part of the show. If anybody would like to call in, 844-788-3464. That's 844-788-3464. We're glad to have those folks in here this morning with us. And do remember, if you can, to get out there. It is Saturday, September the 28th, not this coming Saturday, but the next, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Troutman ESC Park. If you've got anybody in your family, or if you've maybe recovered or know somebody that's recovered, get them out there. This is a celebration of taking the next step in life to actually live and not be addicted to something, to have it be what reigns over you. So it's a great day to celebrate these triumphs in life. And believe me, it is a triumph for these folks to ever get off of what's addicted to them. It rules their life. So a lot of them end up finding Jesus out of this, and there's a wonderful place to be. So I pray for them. I pray for all who are addicted out there. And we'll talk about that at the end of the show in the prayer. So like I said, that's Saturday, September the 28th, 4 p.m., 7 p.m., Iredell Walk for Recovery. So glad to have those folks in here. Hey, let's go ahead and get into it here a little bit, political-wise, like I always do. Well, there appears we're still trying to figure it all out. To be another possible assassination attempt on President Trump again. This time they apprehended a man after he chased from him. There were shots fired. We don't know if he fired any or if they were fired at him. We're still trying to figure all that out. But they did recover the man apprehended. Thank goodness there was somebody close by, took a picture of the car and the license plate. If not, who knows? But they recovered an AK-47, a GoPro, and they had some backpacks that looked like they were set up on the fence, possibly to block return fire. This was planned. Kind of a crazy person. Looks like the person in custody right now, Ryan Wesley Ruth, has had all kind of different ties. Somewhere he's got a business in Hawaii, but he does have ties to North Carolina. So, and had come to Florida. So, just a lot of different things going on. I don't know how many times somebody has to be attempted to be assassinated before they are actually given a larger detail. They increased it some, but not near enough to protect. He's not at the same level that Joe Biden would get or that Kamala Harris would get. So I think it's about time we equaled that out, it looks like. I'm sure the biggest problem here is we put Secret Service and Homeland Security and took it out of the Treasury. It was a large part of the Treasury. It's a very small part of Homeland Security. So maybe we need to take a look about sending it back to where it belongs. But, these are crazy times. Thank goodness. And at one time I was not a fan, but the tag readers were able to catch this guy, pick him up fairly quickly, and it's amazing how they work. I know a lot of people think that's an intrusion into their privacy and their freedoms and their liberties. The way it works in North Carolina with the SBI, it only looks for certain things. They're not sitting there looking at all the data all the time, trying to figure out where you're at and what you're doing. If you enter the certain piece of data, that's what it searches for. And all our other data is destroyed basically every 30 days. So there's not like there's a storage and they keep on file of where you go. I had a hard time at one time, but I do realize the benefits for law enforcement. A lot of cities have these in place and use them all the time. Now, I'm not sure the effect of them, but I do know what the SBI does with the ones on the interstate and the highway patrol. I understand them. We are the ones that kind of set up the regulations for them. So live in a crazy world where it looks like we're continually trying to display our anger. And I'm sure the left will spin this somehow or another about assault rifles or who knows what they'll spin it about. But it seems like the craziness is over on that side, maybe more so than our side with the 2 attempts. Of course, Joe Biden's as safe as he's ever going to be because nobody really wants Kamala Harris as president. So there you go. Just teasing. All right, real quick, if you'd like to get, like I said, give me a call in, 844-788-3464. Give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. I do want to do a shout out to my son, Jacob McNeely. Proud of him. He got engaged over the weekend to a nice young lady named Morgan Spence from over Boger City, Lincolnton area, and we're just tickled to death that our family's growing. And I can't wait to figure out when the wedding will be. So if you see Jacob, tell him congratulations. He did a really good job. I guess he got his romantic side from his father because I'm a long-time romantic. If you don't believe me, ask my wife. She'll tell you. So anyway, moving on a little bit farther down, do want to mention this. The Republican National Committee and the North Carolina GOP are suing the North Carolina State Board of Elections again. And it's an ongoing thing. I think we just have revolving lawsuits there. And I talked a little bit about this lawsuit before, but basically this one is where they finally brought suit because we had Karen Brinson Bell in front of us on our government operations board. And we basically drug out. She's trying to tell us that she wants to know where we got our information. Well, funny thing is we actually got it from them, where there's over 225,000 names of people who have registered that we cannot prove are American citizens. We do not have or either a Social Security number or a driver's license number or both, which you should have both, but we don't even have one or the other. And they're really not doing anything to clean the voter rolls up or check it. They've been just non-existent as far as tracking these people down and finding out if they are actually now American citizens or not. There's about 500,000 in North Carolina, and right now we got about half of them that have registered come in, and that we don't even know if they're here illegally or legal or what, because we don't have a whole lot of information on them to find out. So, unfortunately, we've had to take them to court on many different things. So here we go again. We're taking them to court on this. And the biggest reason is, once again, they don't really seem to care. And how we end up catching these people is not at the poll, not at the ballot box. Where we catch them at is when we pull list off to do jury duty, and their excuse is to get out of jury duty that they're not an American citizen, yet they're registered to vote, according to what we see when we track these people down. But they then claim and tell us they're not an American citizen to get out of jury duty. I guess everybody wants to get out of jury duty, legal and illegal. Nobody wants to go do that. And that's how we've caught most of them. So think about how many we didn't catch, or who knows how many decided to go ahead and serve on jury duty because they knew if they said something, they'd be in trouble. But we have very little factual evidence on these people being citizens. And we were going to do an amendment. We couldn't get it done, couldn't get it on the ballot in time with our discourse with the Senate. But basically it said to make it illegal to vote in North Carolina if you weren't a citizen, put that into our Constitution. It is a law, but it's not in our Constitution. This would have codified it into it to make sure that never could change in the future. Lord knows I don't know how, but you never know. So that was one of the things we were going to have on the ballot, and it didn't get on there. But to me, it's common sense that if you're not a citizen, you're not voting in our state. You're not voting in our elections, and you don't help decide who gets elected in North Carolina or on the federal level. But it is happening. And obviously, Karen Brinson Bell and North Carolina State Board of Elections could care less. I guess they feel like it's going to work out for them. That's the only thing I can figure. So it's kind of crazy. This all started back in March, and we still haven't really gotten to a resolution yet. Here we are in September, and we're about 50 days away from voting. So I think we need to go ahead and get busy and figure out who can vote and who can't vote. Because, like I said, if you go back and you look at Judge Newby and Beasley back there, that ended up being settled by 400 and some votes, folks, for our state Supreme Court Justice, Chief Justice. So, yeah, every vote counts, and it's all important. Many elections we've had here, especially municipal ones, have been decided by 1 and 2 votes. So it's been very short, very short. So that's something we've got to work on. I guess we all saw that debate happened here this past week. It come on right after my show, come on last Tuesday. And, that's pretty funny. I said all along that, Kamala Harris had already won the debate before it ever started. All she had to do was show up and just not totally, go speechless like Joe Biden did before, and she'll be declared the winner. I do think she took it to Trump, and I think Trump fell for a lot of it. A lot of people say she won. I don't know if anybody won. Not the American people sure didn't. Neither one of them really answered their questions, and neither one of them would hold the other one accountable. And I feel like in a debate, when somebody don't answer the question, the other person debating them, if the moderator doesn't do it, should say, answer the question. It's real simple. Answer the question. What does an opportunity economy look like? She doesn't know. Sounds good. It's a good catchy phrase. So, is Trump going to vote for or against a national ban? Well, he's right. It never will happen. As the way it is set up now and should be, and it's a state's issue. And I truly believe that's the where it should stay. He's correct in that. He could have answered one way or another, though. Chose not to. So just because it was a moot point, I kind of get it. They're all playing politics, and they are in politics. I kind of felt like Donald Trump was Donald Trump. That didn't surprise me. I think the old saying from one football coach said, they were who we thought they were. And that's true. He did his thing. I thought she did well. I felt like that she seemed to be, I don't know if she was more prepared than the answers, but I think she knew what answers were coming almost. So we'll talk a little bit more of this after the break. We're going to take a hard break right now, come back for the last part of the show. So stay tuned, folks. Give us a call if you got something to talk about.
There's more Taking Care of Iredell with North Carolina Representative Jeff McNeely on the way from 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Well, our weather is changing quite a bit as we kick off a new week and a system off the coast develops and moves inland across the Carolinas. Expect rain arriving by this afternoon. Some of it could be quite heavy and could impact after school events and your evening commute as well. That rain will continue on and off, some heavy through our day on Tuesday, along with some gusty winds, too. Just stay weather aware over the next couple of days. Temperatures will hold in the 70s for the first part of the week. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. This Friday night, the monthly car show Hot Rods and Hops returns to RevFast. The late Apex Storage Condos on Cayuga Drive in Mooresville welcomes the slickest and fastest cars, motorcycles, trucks, racing, and high-performance machines. Food trucks will be on hand for delicious dinners, and Hoptown Brewing will be serving up cold beer. Get your weekend started off right with Hot Rods and Hops this Friday night at 6 p.m. at the late Apex Storage Condos in Mooresville. Brookdale Village's Live Under the Oaks concert series is also happening on Friday night. Ryan Winters will be playing on the Brookdale stage in Huntersville beginning at 6 p.m. Food and beverages will be for sale at the many restaurants around the village. Grab your chairs and your friends for the Ryan Winters concert Friday night at Brookdale Village in Huntersville. Movie in the Park is happening September 20th in downtown Huntersville. The show at Veterans Park on Main Street and Maxwell Street is open to the public free of charge. Bring your blankets and lawn chairs for an evening under the stars with the showing of Space Jam on a big screen. Movie in the Park begins at 7:30 p.m. at Veterans Park in Huntersville on Friday. The NHRA returns to ZMAX Dragway this weekend for the Carolina Nationals. When the temperatures cool down, the excitement heats up at the Bellagio of drag strips. Every ticket is a pit pass, giving fans unmatched access to the drivers and crews who power the NHRA's thunderous 11,000 horsepower machines to their limits. Visit CharlotteMotorspeedway.com for information, tickets, and details.
The Renaissance Festival is back Saturdays and Sundays, October 5th through November 24th. A non-stop outdoor family adventure. Tickets available online only at renfestinfo.com while supplies last.
To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
Are you concerned about losing your house if you go into a nursing home? Contact Crosswhite Law to learn about protecting your home. Crosswhite Law is here to protect you. Call 704-873-7233. Crosswhitelaw.com.
Taking Care of Iredell continues. Here's your host, NC Representative Jeff McNeely on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
All right, back here for the last part of the show. Like I said, if anybody would like to call in and talk about anything, 844-788-3464. Getting back a little bit on the debate, you know, it seemed like not a lot of hard questions were asked of Vice President Harris. And if there were, she kind of worked around them. Of course, Donald Trump, I ain't going to say, didn't do some of the same. But his questions were a little bit more fair, especially when they jumped in on the January 6th issue, which we knew that was going to come up. But, you know, it also needs to come up that security was asked for by many and turned down by Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer. Also, Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy were there, but they were in the minority of both sides. But they could have asked for it too, and I'm sure that maybe they did. But I know that Nancy Pelosi repeatedly said, no, we don't need any reinforcements of the National Guard on that day. So my question is, once again, is this the Pearl Harbor of the 2020s? We actually kind of forced Japan to attack us, and I'll be glad to have that conversation with anybody. Roosevelt wanted to get into World War II, and I can tell you a whole lot of facts and figures that don't match up with Pearl Harbor. I can tell you a whole lot of facts and figures that don't match up to January the 6th. I hate for the loss of life that happened that day and for the disparage it put on our country. But I'm wondering if some of that wasn't alluded to or allowed to happen almost, folks. I won't get into conspiracy much more. We'll just leave it at that. But it was an interesting debate. Do not know if there will be another one necessarily. We will see if there is. One thing I did want to get into, this past Wednesday, we did pass the mini budget that we talked about last Monday. It went along party lines pretty much. It did some things that had to be done, but there was a lot of things that I felt like that we should have done that we didn't get done. I don't know if we'll get back there. I feel like we will in October and maybe even in November. So this session is going to linger on, just here and there. Hopefully we will get back. I've got a cannabinoid bill, CBD bill, that I think is very, very important, especially for our young people, that we need to get past. So I'm going to push hard as I can over the next couple months to make sure that gets done before this session is out, and hopefully we will get it done. One thing I did want to bring up, a couple little things going on. It's kind of funny. Guess what? The Biden-Harris administration right now basically is pushing for some new tariffs after she talked about how bad the tariffs were that Donald Trump wanted to impose, which are already in place from his time before because they didn't cancel them. She wouldn't necessarily admit to that or say that, but they haven't done away with the Trump-era tariffs that were put on China and other countries. And now they're talking about doing more, which I actually think is a good idea. What it is, basically, is there is a term called de minimis exemption. And the de minimis exemption is anything under $800 or value can come in untariffed. Well, these companies, and I'm sure y'all seen them on Facebook. Good gosh. I think it's pronounced Temu, Temu. I hope I'm saying that right. But anyway, they have figured this out, and just about all their products fall under that, and they ship all kind of garments, and they have basically put a horrible strain on the textile industry that is here in the United States. A lot of plants have closed just because they found a way around the tariff by shipping all these little packages. Instead of shipping one big one, they ship all these little ones, and they get under that level. So now the Biden administration, and it's a bipartisan thing, the Republicans and Democrats both in the House and the Senate realize that they have been figured out and there's a loophole, and they're going to try to close it. And I think this is going to be a great thing. Unfortunately, maybe not going to get those dirt cheap little deals from Tumi anymore, coming from China for the little skirts and dresses and everything else that they have. But that's okay, because what it's doing is taking Americans' jobs, and it's not the way we set up our exports and imports policies. So they have, like I said, abused the system, and it may cut down on a lot of freight. I don't know. We'll see. A lot of Amazon, a lot of these different deliveries and whatnot. But I do know it's a loophole. And probably people say, well, it ain't that big a deal. Well, just to me, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I've never really been on their website, although I see it all the time on Facebook. They are up to about 1 billion packages a year. Just that one company from China shipping into the United States. I'm not talking about $1 billion. I'm talking about 1 billion packages under $800. So you think about that kind of revenue, and you think about where that takes from our local textiles manufacturers and what they have to compete against. And it's not a level playing field, because their products are tariffed when they go in to a lot of these countries, especially Europe, but also into China. So it doesn't work both ways. This is something that needs to be done. But hey, you didn't hear that in the debate, did you? Oh no, tariffs are bad. Well, it's funny, tariffs are bad. They've kept them, and now we're going to increase them. Once again, I see them talking out of both sides of their mouth at the same time. That's a real neat trick. I've never really been able to do it, so I don't know how they do it. One other thing I'd like to talk about real quick as we end up today, and we still got time maybe for a caller. We're getting close here to the end, 844-788-3464. There has actually been an ongoing, I'm going to call it a scam to a point. In 2010, Obama administration took over the student loan process. And I never will forget, after a couple years into it, I can't remember our lady up there now. She's from California exactly, but she's over the banking industry. She called a big meeting. Her name will come to me in a second. I know Patrick McHenry is the chair on the opposite side of her. It's not Elma Adams, but it's close to that. Anyway, she called a meeting and had all the executives come in and want to know why a student loan program was going sour. And they pretty much told her, well, we don't even do this anymore. It's the federal government. They took it over. So let's go back and let's talk about the Congressional Budget Office. Y'all have heard me mention that. I think I talked a little bit about them on the last show. It's funny. Those guys keep telling everybody the truth. And nobody likes what they're saying because it doesn't make you look good. But during the first 6 years after the federal government basically took over the student loan process, they went through and looked at what the pre-pandemic forbearance, in other words, stuff that happened before the pandemic where they quit having to pay. And basically their conclusion was that nobody was paying. And it said in that first 6 years, and again, only about 45% of the time were people paying in this any given moment, and nothing was steady or consistent. Borrowers weren't making payments for most of the time because they were either in default, forbearance, or deferment. And it gets worse. CBO, that's your Congressional Budget Office, says borrowers made payments greater than $10 in only 38% of the months. So, but they were basically, so many were in default or sending just $10 just to keep the loan going. It was crazy. And it's just allowed the interest to accumulate and grow. For they felt like that at some point, some way, they would get out of it. So one of the reasons is, that they put caps on payments of 10% of the discretionary income, and income exceeded 150 cents above the poverty line, and canceled debt after 10 or 20 years. So people started figuring out the government's rules, and they started abusing them. Shock. Surprise. I would have never thought that people would game a system, especially one that's at the federal government. Wow. But they did. And so the student loan debt, the whole thing since we took over in 2010 has become a shambles. And that's one of the reasons I really truly believe that Joe Biden wanted to so badly forgive student debt, because when we really dug into it, we would see how horribly the system has been ran for the last basically 14 years. And the majority of that time, it was under Democratic eyes. And so they're willing to go ahead and forgive these loans because, hey, people's already scammed us, and we don't want to make it look bad. So if we forgive them, it'll be a lot better than showing how upside down this whole program is. And then this accounting trick allows the government to basically do away with $1.6 trillion in student debt from ballooning to the borrowers failing to pay down their loans. So, Biden passes this SAVE plan, the SAVE debt forgiveness plan, which has been ruled by the United States Supreme Court to be unconstitutional. So every minute people think their loans are done, they're not. The states actually brought issue with this. And I'm sitting there the whole time and I'm reading this article, and basically Biden's SAVE plan is estimated to cost about $475 billion over a decade, which is on top of the hundreds of billions that are already set to be written off. So basically what we're looking at here is, to sum it up, Democrats conned taxpayers by claiming their student loan takeover would save the government money, but now we're trying to basically say that the cost is an entitlement and it's expanding. So, the bad part is I feel kind of foolish. I worked as hard as I could, and we saved, and we were blessed in certain situations and tried to invest well. And I paid for both of my kids to go to school. And I'm not telling you this to brag. I'm just telling you this that, I guess I should have been a lot smarter, and I should have gamed the government. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that didn't go to college because they couldn't afford it. And now they're going to make these payments too, because it's all going to be rolled into our national debt. And I had a lady the other day saying, oh, well, basically they paid back the principal. All we're losing the interest. Well, guess what? Our creditors charge us interest on our national debt. So that's not correct either. We're all on the hook for this. So let's go ahead and pray. We're ending up the show. Dear Heavenly Father, dear Lord, I pray for many out there, Lord, that are in sickness and having medical procedures. I pray you be with them, Lord, and protect them and heal them and let guide the surgeon's hands. I know many that are doing this right now, Lord. And Lord, I pray you just give us wisdom to walk your path, and let us be wise, and let us be conscious of the people's monies and spend it wisely, those that are elected. And pray all this in your holy, precious Son, Jesus Christ's name. Amen. Folks, until next week, take care.
You've been listening to North Carolina Representative Jeff McNeely. Join Jeff again next Monday morning at 11:05 for Taking Care of Iredell on News Talk WSIC.